In Coronation Street, wedding celebrations are finally underway as Carla Connor and Lisa Swain prepare to say their vows. But the joy is overshadowed by a shocking twist as a murder unfolds right in the middle of the festivities. A specially crafted week of episodes is set to gradually unravel the mystery, drawing viewers deeper into the suspense as they try to determine who has lost their life and who is responsible for the deadly act. This storyline is being hailed as one of Corrie's most ambitious whodunnit plots to date, featuring a dangerous killer on the loose and 5 possible victims, all of whom are among the most disliked and controversial figures currently living on the cobbles. The list of suspects includes the formidable pub landlady Maggie Driscoll, the deceptive and secretive Jodie Ramsey, the manipulative and abusive Theo Silverton, the deeply sinister predator Megan Walsh, and the notoriously unscrupulous Carl Webster. Each of these antagonists has been central to long-running and intense story arcs, all of which have been carefully built up over time to reach a dramatic peak just as the wedding of Carla and Lisa takes place. It's clear that a great deal of planning has gone into aligning these explosive narratives. In the upcoming week, showrunners promise a bold and innovative format, revisiting the same day, the wedding day, from multiple perspectives, with each episode focusing on one of the potential victims and showing what could be their final hours. The first 4 installments begin at the moment the brides arrive at Underworld for their wedding reception, with each retelling offering new insights and clues from different angles, steadily building tension and suspense. By the time Friday's episode airs, all of the separate story threads will converge, culminating in a dramatic climax as fireworks light up the night sky in celebration of the wedding, only for the mood to be shattered moments later. Amid the celebrations, Betsy Swain makes a horrifying discovery when she stumbles upon a lifeless body, a moment that had already been teased in an earlier flash-forward episode. Viewers will finally witness how events spiraled to this tragic outcome and the chaos that follows. Earlier in the week, Monday's episode kicks off with immediate tension as Theo unexpectedly appears at the flat, leaving Todd Grimshaw terrified. Fortunately, George Shuttleworth arrives just in time, and together they manage to subdue Theo before escaping the dangerous situation and reporting him to Kit Green, though Theo mysteriously disappears soon after. Determined to put distance between himself and his abuser, Todd hastily gets into a taxi and heads toward the airport. However, panic sets in when he realizes he has left his phone behind, forcing him to return to the street, only to come face to face with Theo once again, who is now holding the missing device. The encounter raises the stakes dramatically as Todd's safety hangs in the balance. Meanwhile, Tuesday's episode focuses on Debbie Webster, who confesses to Ronnie Bailey and Kevin Webster that she has paid Carl a large sum of money to leave Weatherfield for good after discovering his attempt to blackmail Summer Spellman. At the same time, Carl begins trying to settle unfinished business before making his exit, but instead ends up provoking multiple people, including his former lover Abby Webster, Tyrone Dobbs, whose life he previously endangered in a hit-and-run, Theo, and even his own brother Kevin, whose life he has already deeply disrupted. Driven by anger after receiving a hostile message from Kevin, Carl secretly sneaks into the garage and tampers with the brakes on Kevin's car as a calculated act of revenge. Already known for his deceitful and destructive behavior, Carl now escalates his actions even further by risking lives, raising the question of whether this reckless decision will ultimately lead to his downfall before it's too late. In Coronation Street, Wednesday's dramatic events begin with Jodie Ramsey making urgent plans to leave Weatherfield for good. Her decision is triggered when Olivia, a child she once cared for as a nanny, unexpectedly shows up at her door, desperately searching for her father's mysterious hard drive, which Jodie has been secretly keeping among her hidden collection of personal items. However, just as Jodie prepares to make her escape, chaos erupts nearby. Hearing screams from Shona Platt, she rushes outside and discovers her sister being aggressively confronted by 2 threatening men. Realizing that the attackers are actually targeting her, Jodie reluctantly hands over the hard drive to protect Shona from harm. Deeply shaken by the ordeal, Shona pleads with Jodie to stay rather than disappear again. But the emotional moment takes a sharp turn when Jodie uncovers a painful truth, evidence that Shona had lied about never receiving her childhood letter. This revelation confirms that Shona never attempted to find or help her after she ran away from home, reigniting years of hurt and betrayal. Fueled by this discovery, Jodie's anger intensifies, pushing her closer toward a path of revenge that could have devastating consequences. That thirst for revenge soon spills over into Shona's personal life as Jodie targets her relationship with David Platt. In a calculated and risky move, she attempts to drive a wedge between them and destabilize their marriage. But her actions ultimately backfire, leaving her isolated and forced out onto the streets once again. As she disappears into the darkness, Jodie remains unaware that someone is quietly observing her every move. Later, at the precinct, Jodie sits alone on a set of swings, overwhelmed with frustration and regret over how everything has spiraled out of control. Lost in thought, she suddenly senses someone approaching. The tension builds as she freezes, fearing that her past misdeeds or her recent actions may finally be catching up with her. When the mysterious figure steps closer, Jodie is visibly shaken, uncertain whether she's about to face consequences she can no longer escape. Thursday's episode shifts focus as Eva Price teams up with Leanne Battersby and Toya Battersby to confront Megan Walsh. The trio forcibly drags her into the salon flat, determined to make her confess to grooming Will. Despite their efforts, Megan refuses to admit anything and instead deliberately provokes them, escalating tensions to a boiling point. The confrontation quickly turns physical, ending in chaos as Megan is struck in the face and left with a bleeding nose. Seizing the opportunity to manipulate the situation, Megan attempts to portray herself as the victim and seeks sympathy from her former partner Daniel Osborne. However, Daniel is far from sympathetic, especially after realizing he had been unknowingly used as a cover while Megan carried out her abuse. Rejecting her completely, he throws her out, leaving her humiliated and alone. But Megan's scheming doesn't stop there. While lingering nearby, she overhears Maggie Driscoll speaking to Melanie about the circumstances surrounding her husband's death and secretly records the conversation on her phone. This proves to be a dangerous mistake. Maggie, who has a dark and violent past of her own, soon tracks Megan down and confronts her directly about the recording. However, when Megan retaliates by revealing a shocking secret in return, Maggie is pushed to the brink of fury. With emotions spiraling out of control, their feud reaches a critical point, raising the terrifying possibility that one of them could end up dead. By Friday, all of the tension and conflict across the street explodes into a dramatic climax. Todd Grimshaw finds himself locked in a dangerous psychological battle, playing a high-stakes game of cat and mouse as he tries to outmaneuver the vengeful Theo Silverton.